afternoon to all present. I, Shweta Chugh from Khalsa College for Women, welcome the respected dignitaries of the day and all the participants on the fourth day of 7-day long workshop on research methodology. This workshop is organized by PCMA in collaboration with Department of Commerce and Management, Khalsa College for Women, Ludhiana. Today, during this pandemic phase, when everything is almost locked down, it is only the online platform that help us in gaining the insights. And in this period of uncertainty, the only certain thing is gaining knowledge. So keeping in mind the above said views, we make an attempt to impart the knowledge through this workshop. As the theme of the workshop is to getting the insights of research methodology, and we have already covered research modeling, feeding data in SPSS, and statistical tools like t-test, factor analysis, etc. So the topic for today's session was design, which help us in acquiring the knowledge on structural equation modeling. Structural equation modeling is very general statistical modeling technique, which is widely used in behavioral sciences to analyze the structural relationship. And to present this topic, we have Dr. Rishi Raj with us. Friends, when I got his CV, I found it a bit difficult to introduce him in just a minute or so, as it comprises of 15 pages. And I'm feeling very much honored while introducing him. Dr. Rishi Raj is a very renowned personality from Guru Nanak Dev University, having an experience of 20 years. Presently, he is an Associate Dean and Professor, GNDU Regional Center, Gurdaspur. He started his career not in teaching profession, but as a marketing professional trainer in OCM Birla Limited. But his interest in teaching and acumen in research encouraged him to join this profession. Before joining Guru Nanak Dev University, he served in University Business School, Chandigarh. His area of research includes advertising, sustainability marketing, and knowledge management. He is expertise in scale development and model building and structural equation modeling. There are 52 research publications to his credit, and he has presented 90 research papers in national and international conferences. Under his valuable guidance, 5 students have completed their PhD and 7 more are pursuing in the research work. He was awarded with Professor M.M. Shah Memorial Research Award and was also 3-time gold medal winner for the best empirical research paper, hosted in year 2013, 14 and 18. Dr. Sharma has published a book on ethical dimension in advertising with LA Publishers, Germany. Presently, he is a member of Research Degree Committee, Board of Studies, Department of Commerce and Business Management, Academic Council, GNDU, Amritsar. In addition to this, he is also a part of selection panel of many colleges in the region. Sir, we are privileged to have you as a resource person in our workshop. I'm sure all the participants are eager to listen to you and will gain an insight on structural equation modeling. So without taking any more time, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Rishi Raj. Over to you, sir.
Before taking over by the Rishi, I would like to say something about Rishi Raj. Rishi Raj is a very, very star personality of our Gurdaspur district, because I belong to Gurdaspur, and I think I must take this privilege to announce here that he's a star personality of our district and has flourished the various things in his profession, and he is managing regional center of Gurdaspur in a very, very beautiful manner and one of the best institution in that area. So welcome, Dr. Rishi. We are proud of you that we belong to the same alma mater district, though you are living now in Amritsar, but still holding the as campus dean of Gurdaspur Regional Center of Guru Nanak Dev University. So he's not associate dean, but campus dean also. Now he's promoted.
He's the star of Punjab, sir.
He is a star of Punjab and star of Punjab Commerce and Management Association. He is associated with us from the last 10 years. So not taking much of time, sir, this was necessary to tell about you, because the formal biodata is a separate thing, but your linkages with us are very important. So thank you so much. Over to Rishi.
Definitely, sir. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Rashmi Mandani. And as sir has introduced me, and he has just left one thing to say. I am his younger brother,
Yes.
and that's the most important thing which I must feel that is there in my resume. And when I think of him, I feel proud that he has gone from all the way from Gurdaspur district and enshrined PCMA in Ludhiana. And PCMA is a great name nowadays when we talk of conferences, when we talk of workshops. And I think we were the first in this region who inculcated these lecture series and memorial lectures. And now even on the electronic platform, we are here. And excellently the things have been done. Initially incepted by Dr. Ashwini Bhalla ji, Dr. very eminent Professor Dr. Prem Kumar ji, and then Dr. B.B. Singla ji. So they were the pillars, actually, what I must say. They were the pillars of designing this organization. And the aim for organizing this organization was to, collaborate all the researchers, all the commerce and management educators, all the administrators together on one platform. I was amazed day before that when Dr. Balla had held a meeting with all the principals and the registrar from Punjab University, and then they were discussing the issues regarding this. And in these crisis time, if PCM is doing something, that is a wonderful job. And for me, it is always an honor. I am not any star, nothing else, but I always feel privileged when I have to work under the guidance of Dr. Balaji and even Dr. B.B. Singla. For him, I won't say he's my elder brother because we are of the same age, but he is my brother of the same age, I can say. And to work with, because I always feel that we are the main people, like I am associated with the main people or the main pillars of. And when I talk of Dr. Vikas Deep, I just met him recently in one of the workshop which was organized by HRDC Center, GNDU. And as a participant, he was there. But I have seen such a humble person, such a humble, you can say, the personality and the way he has been going through all the learnings of the workshops and the key impediments. That was very, very wonderful. And I'm thankful to him because he provided me an opportunity to host one of my lectures on his YouTube channel also. And when I talk of all these people, actually what I see in PCMA, everyone here is working selflessly. It's very important because I have been associated with many organizations. Recently, I got one privilege to join FS Congress, that is from Turkey. They start, but I feel that everywhere, a dominance of some people is there. But when I say PCM working, it is totally a decentralized organization, and everyone who is willing and voluntarily participating, they just encourage that person. And I'm no exception to that because when I was working in Gurdaspur, Dr. Bhalla ji, उनके हाथ आए मेरे पास और उन्होंने मुझे वहां से कहा कि चलो तुम आओ हमारे साथ. The way my journey has started, and I, जैसे कहते हैं हिंदी में, शत शत नमन to these personalities. My namaskar to all of them. And today is the day when we celebrate, one thing, that is Indianism. Why I say to celebrate? Because in the time of the crisis, we can find an opportunity also. And the opportunity, if I think any opportunity would be given to the world, that opportunity will come from the side of India. Everything in Indian culture we had is now being promoted. We started with Namastute, we started with Namaskar, and that is one of the most preventive measure which we can now talk of this COVID. We never used to enter our kitchen and everything with shoes and all. Now we are not allowed to enter our houses with shoes and all. So we had all these things, and now Indianism is being spread. And when I talk of PCMA, PCMA is a totally patriotic Indianized organization which is bound to spread global also one day. And I will feel proud to see Dr. Ashwini Balla, Dr. B.B. Singla, Vikas Deep ji, and even myself trailing with them to the global level. And definitely we'll enter that. And I feel that will be one of the, when we say that international PCMA, we won't change the name PCMA. We will say it is as IPCMA or international PCMA or GPCMA or as a global PCMA. So please take this one of the suggestion, and Singha Saab, as a secretary, as a president, you please note down this, that we have to spread global also. Sir, we have already, started our chapter in Australia day before yesterday. We have launched it already. We have already started on the same path.
So this is again one thing which shows the proactiveness of this organization. अभी दमन में
बात आती है तो ये स्टार्ट कर देते हैं. This is what Singha ji is always. They
कर
just
चुके होते हैं.
हाँ मुझे कर चुके होते हैं already, and this is wonderful. So now not taking much of the time
Yeah.
because everyone is eagerly waiting for the structural equation modeling and the business model to see and what is like happening over there. I'll be sharing my slides with all of you, and one thing which I must tell to all the budding researchers in this field, because now almost it is 18-19 years into the field of research. But I just want to say that people nowadays are in the, you can say, race of taking statistical tools and techniques into their papers and all. But as a reviewer, because I'm reviewing the papers of Emerald, Taylor and Francis also, and journal promotion management from Taylor and Francis, etc. What I see as a reviewer, and I'm guest editor for one of the journal of this Inter Sciences, the requirement is basically of the great theoretical concept first. And even you can publish your paper with, you can say, ordinary least square regression or any other technique, because technique is going to matter as far as the prediction is going to concern, as far as the predictive analysis is concerned. But as far as the basic, you can say, the soul of the paper lies that what is the hypothesis you have developed, whether you need to explore that hypothesis, because even in structural equation modeling, we are just connecting all the hypotheses with some relationship networks, and for that theoretical concepts are very, very important. What is happening unfortunately in India, people good at stats and mathematics and they apply the techniques, but they apply the techniques without knowing any reasoning behind it, that what are the theoretical inputs behind it. We cannot assume the model just like that, because if I think something, that is not allowed me to think, because I can only think in the light of the previous researches. When I think something like in a vagueness, so I may land into something which is not a very, you can say, the feasibility of the study is very less at that time. So what I want to state here is the first part. I will just tell you that how we can construct an important conceptual model. And in the last Congress, where we had Professor Dr. Justin Paul from one of the University of America, he is editor of one of the top 3 journals of the world now, and his basic remark as an editor was that they on the flash take 2 minutes to just see one paper, and the paper is either gone to the reviewers or it is rejected at the desk itself. And what they see, they first of all, the primary thing they see is the citation of the journal. Citation should be of international level, number one. Second is the references, and third is the basic theoretical input, which is seen in the abstract itself. So abstract is very, very important thing, and there only you can mention that what is the gap you are going to fill in the literature. And then the second part, once you cross this, is how you develop your theory. Because development of theory is something which is not your own, which has to be taken, because research is an incremental process. I just cannot jump from one stage to another. I have to carry it as a staircase, that from one stair to the another, from another to the another. And what I have to do is I have to increment that research. There are only two possibilities with the research. Either you can increment the previous research with something additional, or what you can do is you can either contradict the previous research by your new findings. Otherwise, nothing is there, because if you come out with the similar or the same findings, the research is not at all acceptable. Then second thing is generalizability of what is, again, one suggestion to the researchers is whenever they write a thesis or a paper, please never mention in the title like a study of Punjab or study of India, because that type of study, if you write, is not going to make a mark, because they feel the study is not generalized. What you can do is you can take a theme in the title, and taking a theme in the title, then you express your universe, because everyone has a sample size from a specific universe. And for that case, when I say specific universe, then what you can do is you can mention that in your research methodology or database there, not in the title. Let's say if I have a title, ethical dimensions in advertising, a perceptual study, that itself is enough, because I can generalize my findings to the other part of the globe also. But if I say a study of India, then that title is not a very catchy title. This is just one tip which I just wanted to share with you. And I got it recently from Dr. Paul also. And he was very much with this thing that we should try to generalize our things to as much as away from our place we can, because people need generalized researches. They don't want very specific research of a specific place, because findings may not pertain to the another area, and that is one question of reliability and validity also. So now coming down to the basic structural model, I would like to share my slides with you, and my screen share is on for everyone. Next one, please. Presentation will comprise of, first of all, I would like to tell you that how we can formulate a theoretical framework, and from this theoretical framework we will deduce our model, that is our conceptual model, and our conceptual model will have some purposes behind it, that what I say, the objectives, and what are the basic ingredients, like what are the endogenous variable and what are the exogenous variables, and what are the mediators and what are the moderators, that my conceptual model will itself explain, and how we can develop this conceptual model step by step. And finally, I would like to present to you that how I have developed a basic conceptual model in the one of the journal, which is A category journal, and published. And I'll tell you that what inputs we provided to the present theoretical framework to publish that paper. So just a single thing, conceptual modeling represents a way or new way to solve a problem. So basically it is an abstraction, that means concepts which are assembled because they have some common relevant theme. Let's say my study is comprising of to check that what are the social influences or what are the social parameters or what are the social implications of now COVID-19 disease. So this can be one study, that what at the social end we are feeling. So this is one abstract thing which I have in my mind. So I can conceptualize with this. The common theme is I want to see what is the social relevance of the COVID. So this is a common theme. Now let's say how to develop a theory upon that. So we are going to explain, this is from the personal experience, one, because we are facing this problem, that is a personal experience. Then second is we'll try to look upon the previous studies. Now the question is, COVID-19 is a very new disease. So we are not aware of many previous studies, but we can have current studies, and then we can have the earlier pandemic studies upon that, like Spanish flu and all. So when we talk of earlier pandemic study, we can see what were the social implications in those days for those type of the pandemic issues. So from that, we will deduce some theory and models. In conceptual model, it is going to provide a coherent. So that is very, very important. Coherent means a similar sort of a unified picture, and it is an orderly way. You just cannot have like, one step which should be at the third level at the first level, because this is a systematic process. And in system, the hierarchy is very, very important. So orderly way of seeing the related events as a process relevant to study. So it is less formal than the theories which can be reviewed. So these are three things which you should. So it can be rudimentary or elaborate. If it is very elaborate or rudimentary, then we are not going to accept that model. Second, if it is theory driven or commonsensical, again the chances are going to be, you can say, less of publishing these type of models. Why? Because it is just theory driven and common sense which can be derived out of it. Like let's say social distancing. If I find out of a model that COVID has led to social distancing, so that is not any finding. That is a common sense. So when I say the third part, this is very, very important. Basic model should be descriptive or causal. It should reflect a relationship between the cause and the effect. That means exogenous and the endogenous variables, predictor variables, and very simply we can say the dependent and the independent variables. So I hope till this point you all understand. So am I audible to everyone? The things are clear? The slides and the things are clear?
Yes, sir.
Dr.
You are
Vikas Dey?
audible and the
Yes, sir.
slides
Yes,
are
sir.
visible.
Yes, sir. You are very much audible, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, Rishi,
Yeah,
go
thank
ahead.
you. Thank you so much.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and secondly, this particular model is going to present the understanding of the phenomena of the interest, and it reflects the assumptions. and philosophical view. This philosophy
Rishi Raj sir, please unmute yourself. You have gone mute, sir.
That's fine. So it's
Sir,
actually so it's fine now.
Yes, now it is
Yes,
okay,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. So what is happening? This philosophical view is basically the theme of appreciation which you're going to find, and these assumptions are actually the hypothesis which you have derived from your own perception and previous research. So researcher is now going to position his problem and it's going to shape this problem. So how we can see, so I can say in a nutshell that it is basically a synopsis of the study's main point. So when I say a conceptual model, if I can just see the model, I can say what in totality the paper is going to say. So that is a particular synopsis of the study. So each model is going to, so these aspects are very important and I will share my slides with you after all. You can just focus upon that. Each model has to highlight or emphasize different aspects of problem or research question. So one model is not going to say one thing, but in totality, they are going to have different assumptions and hypotheses which have been established in form of relationships. So every relationship is very, very important. So the rationale is it has to keep the research on the track. Number one, it is on the line with the previous literature. It is going to clarify the concepts and purpose of the relationships. And finally, it is a general framework. Fine. So the interpretation of the findings flow from the conceptualization represented by the framework. So how you can interpret the finding is very, very clear from the flow of the concept, which is represented therein by the framework. This is very important. Your findings, as they have to be meaningful and generalizable. At times the people come and they say the relationships are not at all coming. So finally, if you say the hypothetical relationships are not coming to be true, like 1, 2, 3, I can understand, but if all the relationships in the model are not coming to be true, then the model is not valid, because that means you have landed with the wrong hypothesis. Now, second is providing reference points for further discussion. Then you explain your observations and contribute to the trustworthiness of your study. So this is very, very important. Your trustworthiness of the study. Because we can make a model. We have to prove that this model is valid, reliable. So it should be a well-tested model. How we can test it, I will again provide you with the inputs in the next part. Then we have to encourage the theory development. So this is very important. The theory has to be developed in that arena. Let's say like when technology acceptance model was developed by Davis. So what he did, he developed the theory from adoption. Adoption model from, he developed the theory that how technology can now be adopted. Because initially there was no model which was explaining the adoption of the technology part. But here the adoption of the technology was explained. So this is an incremental development in the theory. So concepts and relational linkages, these are propositional statements or assumptions or hypotheses. Then concepts, they describe an object or a phenomenon. Every concept is based upon some phenomenon. Then it is the intellectual representation of some reality. Reality means unobserved reality. That is why we say latent variables. That means unobservable, this reality. You feel there is a reality behind it, but you cannot observe that. So explore here. So concept synthesis is performed to identify. So I will just give a case study sort of a representation here, that how the model of TAM was previously established by Davis, and then how we improved the TAM and got our one model. So totality, I'll explain all the steps for you, because this is a theoretical part and the empirical part I will take in the next part. So how we have to devise, and mind you, saying one thing again, statistical part is not a very difficult, though it looks to be very difficult. But again, I must say, even Dr. Vikas is sitting here, he will agree with me that the synthetic theoretical part is explanation, the rationale behind your model, the implications of your model, why you have come with that model. These are more important for your paper to be published, rather than just coming out that you have applied this statistics and these are the results. Nobody wants such type of studies. They want a study which has to say something, and something as a theory. So you have to increment that theory. So I will perform a synthesis that how TAM was developed. This TAM here means Technology Acceptance Model, which was developed by Davis. So strategy, here first we will try to see that what is the strategy by which you have to go. The strategy means examining the attributes or some key, you can say, characteristics. If I say in the sciences, like we have E is equal to mc square. So now that means this E is energy, m is mass, and c is velocity of light. So that means the strategy here is to explain the relationship between these three. Similarly, if I want to say the purchase intentions, I have to see purchase intentions, they depend upon what? Let's say first the attitude. Then this attitude is followed by some previous dispositions, and these dispositions are based upon the previous learning. So if I want to change an attitude of a person from negative to positive towards a concept, I have to change the key learnings of that particular person and his experiences so that his disposition change. So that is what strategy is. By strategy, I mean to say you have to focus upon the attributes and the relationship between them. So relational statement, it declares that what kind of relationship exists between two concepts. Like if I say there are social relationship, like in this case, when I was, in one of the conferences, I was there and they were talking of COVID-19 and all. A very beautiful observation came from a person from social sciences. And he said that rather using the word social distancing, we should try to incorporate the term physical distancing. Now, this is a term which is very important because when we say social distancing, it may lead to social discrimination. But when I say physical distancing, that means physically I have to distance myself and socially I have to link with other people. Rather, I have to empathize with their problem. What we are doing at this platform, we are sitting at different places. Singla Saab, Bala Saab, Vikas, we are all sitting at different places and we are trying to connect socially with each other. So distance here is physical. So that is again one assumption. So now can we introduce this word here? So this is one, how a relational statement declares the kind of the relationship which exists between two concepts. So concepts, they give a total roadmap. So it is not an abstract concept. You just can't start with A, B, C. You have to tell what is the totality, what is the total relationship between the fundamentals you want to talk about. Like one of the paper which I was talking was basically upon viral marketing. It was electronic word of mouth and a very simple idea, I must tell you. And it is an A category published paper that the only two concepts I took, that why the people, they are encouraged to open the email. And if they are opening that email, what are the reasons behind the opening of the email? And what are the reasons then sending that email to the other people or forwarding that? So just two concepts, opening and forwarding of the email, and the paper is published in A category. Why? The reason is behind is the total theoretical assumptions I have taken and I have left no assumption which can be dealt with the opening and forwarding. So that is how. So this is, we say, tier 1 model used and tier 1 model explained. So it is basically, you can say it is fixing the context of the researcher. Now, propositions, that means your assumptions. So your assumptions are core of the framework. They are the relationship statements which have to be tested. Every hypothesis has to be tested. Then they are determined from what? And finally, statistical analysis. Now, some people will ask that how we can assume statistical analysis. See, my dear, if you don't assume your statistical analysis, you cannot derive your assumptions. Because I have to see that whether my assumptions are going to be tested on the framework as far as the variance is concerned, or as far as the differences is concerned, or as far as some other impact or effect of the things. If I am not clear for that, so I have to first think that what kind of the statistical analysis I'm going to use, because let's say I will be talking of PLS-SEM SMART, and in that case I have to see whether my studies statistical design is exploratory or not. Because if my studies design is not exploratory and it is very much descriptive, then there is no use. We can go with this technique, we can go with the lower level of techniques, and again then form some results out of that. So just to sum up, your basic theoretical model should have a direction, very important. With the arrows you have to explain that whether A is affecting the B or B is affecting the A. Then shape, strength. Now strength means the predictive strength. How much your model is going to predict the events you have said. So that again depends upon the level of significance you are testing your assumptions. Then symmetry, sequencing, which I told, the ordering. Then probability of occurrence, again based upon the necessity of your level of significance, that whether this model will occur. So by this we test the validity and reliability part also, that whether this model is going to behave in the similar manner in the similar situations or in the different situations, or and also in the different type of the fields of, you can say, study. Necessity, what was that whether this model was necessary to explain this concept or not. Then second is sufficiency. Sufficiency means that this is a complete accurate model and we are not going to have much improvements than to that. Because if model is insufficient itself to explain some data, so that is not going to make much impact. So how we can dwell? So this is a flow chart. Explore the relationship, identify the concepts, define the concept, and then try to operationalize. So these three parts are just theory driven: exploring, identifying, and defining. And just last part is empirical. So now you can see what is the importance of developing a hypothetical or theoretical or a conceptual model from the existing theories. So first of all, we'll categorize our concepts. Why I say categorizing of concept here means variables categorization. I will categorize them on the basis of whether they are independent or dependent, whether they are mediator or moderators, whether they are exogenous or endogenous. Then we have to see whether they are abstract or concrete. Abstract means they are in vagueness. Concrete means they say something specific. For model development, we should try to see some concrete concepts. Because even if this particular, you can say, your concept is abstract, you have to make that abstract into concrete. Let's say when I have to check that what is the liking towards the particular color, I cannot measure that. But what I will do, I will develop a scale. I'll develop that scale to measure the liking on some Likert scale, something else. And then finally, I will say that these are the factors behind it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make the likings of the color dependent upon some concrete objects. Abstract, no. We have to say concrete. So how we can, you can transform abstract to concrete is by having qualitative inputs to the data, by taking into consideration the attitudinals and the qualitative scales. Now for every abstract concept, it is broad and may not be readily observable. So the meaning of which are more far from time space. So specific concrete concepts, they have to be amended to the measurement types, and that is why we have to make them concrete. So what is the main function of the conceptual framework in the descriptive study or in the research? You have to start, it should be exemplary. We have to start with some example. So like we can discuss the quality of life, accessibility of care, regular users, visitor demand. So these are different concepts, how you can define your concepts. I have just given a list provided. Then how construct these abstract concepts or intangible, you can say the concepts, they can be made tangible or concrete. So first is regeneration, like I have three with them, regeneration, community, deprivation. So all these concepts are, which cannot be measured directly. If I have to measure the community feeling, the deprivation in the person, the regeneration or something, so they have to be, it's very difficult to make them tangible. So how I can make them tangible is it by providing the scales to measure them. Scale here means not the, the exact percentage or something. It is actually a rating scale, and it is based upon the weights assigned. So that is a very, very important process, because we are here dealing with the qualitative type of researches converted into quantitative types. We don't have any accurate data, or you can say a data in the percentages or in the numeric form. We have a metric data, and this metric data is basically explained on the type of an interval scale. So that is the beauty of it. So Likert is a combination of metric and you can say interval scale, because most of the people, they are confused, and in many workshops they ask us that whether, sir, this Likert scale is a metric scale or an interval scale, and people will say it is basically an interval scale. Why? Because it has regular intervals. But I must tell you, if you go through the book given by Ringel there, he explains very clearly that Likert is not a metric or not an interval scale. It is basically an hybrid scale which involves metric dimensions to the interval scale. So it is an improvement of that. That is why it is one of the most widely used scale. So please note down, it is not an interval scale. It is a combination of both the scales. Then empirical reference is a means of measurement here. So empirical reference means the reference who will come out with some weight, some rating, etc. We only need that reference. Reference here are the basically the propositions which you are going to give. Like I say, strongly agree or strongly disagree. So that means some weights will be assigned. So in a nutshell, just we'll revise this. So first is the keywords used in the subject area, very important. Then key things which have been taken from your literature review. Then your key concept. Before coming to the key concept, it's better to discuss with the people to find more and more theories and see what is the most relevant concept you can come out with. Like I gave you one of the example of social distancing being converted to physical distancing. So I like it. I may use it in some of my studies. Then it will take time and number of iterations, and focus should be both upon content and interrelationship. Iterations here means repetitions. You know, when we go for, I am not explaining in this workshop because I was told to explain the business model. Otherwise, the previous part coming to this business model is the factor analysis and CFA part, which is very, very important, because there we conceptualize the factors or the variables which we are going to take in the study, and that is dependent upon number of iterations, because sometime I may not get a very accurate factor. So I will again go for number of iterations, these repetitions. Finally, I will come with a concrete factor. So once I come with a concrete factor, then I can only see the interrelationships. Because if the factor I have used is not concrete, then the relationship will be abstract. And abstract factor is going to lead towards abstract relationship, and then there is no usage for that. So study with testing, having evidence of relevant tested hypothesis is only going to get published. Now, how we arrived towards the development of TAM. So let us say there are different studies, but basically TAM was based upon two types of the basic model. The first model was theory of reasoned action, which one explained by Rishi and Ajzen. And when I say theory of reasoned action, the theory of reasoned action has primarily two main models behind it. One was attitude towards object and attitude towards behavior. And attitude towards object says that A naught, that means attitude towards object, is equal to summation of sigma AI EI. That means EI BI. So this I is from one iteration to nth iteration, any iteration they can happen. So E here is evaluation and B here is belief. So first towards object, like if I'm making my attitude towards object, let's say if I say I like strength in the coffee, that the coffee should be strong. That means my evaluation for strong coffee is good. So my belief should be there that this coffee contains strength. So that means if somebody explains me that this blend of coffee is having strength in that, and my evaluation for that is positive, I will have a positive attitude towards coffee. So this is towards object. Now towards behavior. If somebody says to me that now I am going to reverse this concept. Somebody says that more the coffee is having the strength element, that is going to cause more acidity. So now that is a behavioral part, the change in my body. So what I would like to prefer, I would like to prefer a coffee with the less strength. And what has changed here? My behavior. That means AB. AB means attitude dependent upon behavior. My behavior is not positive because of that attribute present. So my evaluation for that attribute has gone down. In the first case, the belief that this attribute is present and I like it, that is object based. The second case is this attribute is present, but I don't want that behavioral attribute. I'm not going to like it. So these were the two bases of developing the theory of reasoned action. I'll explain that what is, and then the theory of planned behavior. Again, I will explain that. From these two theories, David and Watson, 1989, they developed TAM, and now we have Venkatesh and Davis. They, model. They have actually found, you can say, one of the latest model, which is a version of TAM again, by I think a scope for improvement. And I'll tell you how they made this model a scope for the future references. And I'm telling you most of the paper upon the technology acceptance dealing with either with the internet research or with the online researches, even online education, they're all using the TAM technology acceptance. So theory of reasoned action, attitude towards behavior, number one. Then they are going to impact behavioral intentions, and behavioral intention is going to have impact upon the behavior. So the only addition which has been made in theory of reasoned action, the first one is primarily the first line, what I've explained, attitude towards behavior, behavioral intention, and behavior. This is actually theory, not theory of reasoned action. This is basically attitude towards behavior explanation. Whereas by introducing the subjective norm into it, subjective norm that if I will behave in such a manner, if I will behave in such a manner, whether my personality, my status, or anything which is subjective are going to distract me or my audience. So this is subjective. Let's say I am in habit of wearing jeans, fine, but I am going to deliver a lecture at a very high profilic this platform, and then there I feel that I have to be formally dressed. So my attitude towards behavior as far as the gene is concerned, comfort is there, so that is positive. But because of the subjective norm that people or the audience may not like me to be dressed in that form, I will not behave in that. So subjective norm is again very, very important. That is, it can be based upon the sociological symptoms, ecological symptoms, environment, because nowadays ecological symptoms are very, very again thing, you can say in thing, because most of the companies are devising their products based upon the ecological norms also. So that is again one subjective norm. And then because everyone knows that this carrying the plastic bag is very, very convenient. It is very glamorous also, and it looks very good, the packing in this plastic and all. But we are not going to use it now. Why? Because there is a question of ecology, and when we talk of this ecology, definitely we are going to discard its use. So that is again one subjective norm which has changed our behavior from convenience to responsibility. Initially we were focused upon convenience, now we are focusing our behavior towards responsible behavior by not using that. So this is how this model has been prepared. Now this is theory of planned behavior, and when I say theory of planned behavior, it is based this theory of planned behavior is again an extension of theory of reasoned action. So I'm telling you that how the theories are behaving in, you can say one by one step. So the first step we had two attitude behaviors, then we have theory of reasoned action. From theory of reasoned action, Ajzen, he came out with the theory of plan. So in this case, he has taken attitude in totality. When I say attitude in totality means object and behavior together. Then subjective norms. Finally, these are going to affect the intentions, attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. So they all are going to affect the intentions here. And this intention is going to proceed with the behavior. So let me just give you an idea how we work with the structural equation model. So I will take this. That means attitude, subjective norm, and behavioral control as my exogenous variables. And this intention here is the outcome behavior of subjective norm, attitude, and perceived behavioral control. So either I will call it as an independent variable here, if the relationship is ending here. It is no doubt an endogenous variable and an independent variable. Then it is going to affect behavior. Now the question is, if I can directly see the impact upon behavior. See, no arrow is going directly towards the behavior. That means intention is not acting as a mediator here. It is one of the independent variable which is going to affect as a behavior. Suppose if attitude had the direct impact upon behavior and perceived behavioral control also affecting the behavior and norm also affecting the behavior and indirectly also affecting through this, then this would have been a mediator. This is the latest approach which is explained, which is a bootstrapping approach, initially which was not explained in SEM. I will explain you in the further part. I hope the things are clear till now. I'm not getting too technical into it. Any
Yes, sir.
feedback?
Very well. It's
That
clear,
things
sir.
are fine. Yeah. So please try to understand. I'll repeat again. If from attitude to behavior there is a relationship, and there is a relationship from attitude to intention and behavior also, then only intention is mediator. If there is indirect relation, then it is also independent variable. It is also independent. So things are clear. Now coming to the next part, that how this model has been used to explain the more relevance. So this is now when TAM was developed. So TAM is, I told you, extended from that. So what he has done is, for the word attitude formation, he has used two inputs. First is ease of use. See, technology is only relevant if it is easy to use. If technology is very complex. I remember as a student of computer science, because initially I did computer science. So as a student of computer science, when I was doing it, it was way back in 92, 93 or 94. At that time, we had many things like programming languages like COBOL and all, and they finally vanished. The reason was because ease of use was not there. And if technology is not easy to use, finally when Windows came, they captured the total market. Why? Because they were providing us with the menu key, self-driven menu key. So when the self-driven menu key is given to us, any person who is not even a non-technical person can understand the icons and can, use it. So ease of use is first reason, which is going to define the usefulness. So this ease of use is leading towards perceived usefulness. So these are the two. So you can say this is towards object, attitude towards object, and this is attitude towards behavior. Usefulness is the behavior. Clear? Now both of them, we are not going to talk of this because this is an addition which have been made by Warsaw finally. So this is in totality the 10, this one. So this was included later on. So perceived usefulness, ease of use towards usefulness, is going to form my attitude. Once my attitude is positive for, I know that technology is easy to use. This is very important. Then I should also see whether it is useful for me. One usefulness is because it is easy. But second usefulness is usability. Whether I can use it for some purpose. It's not like that कि हमें आसान लग रहा है, the things are easy. But if the things are easy, that does not mean that they will serve a purpose. It's only if they are easy and can serve a purpose, then it is perceived useful. Fine. So if both of them are positive, they are going to form a positive attitude. Attitude is positive, then behavioral intention to use will be positive and actual system use will be there. Now we see here this behavioral intention to use. In this case, as far as the perceived usefulness is concerned, you can say these two elements are mediating also. Why? Because there is a direct relationship, there is an indirect relationship. So behavioral intention to use is a mediating variable. Fine. And it is mediating from perceived ease of use, attitudes, behavioral intention. This is one path. Another path here is perceived usefulness, attitude, behavioral intention. Second part, direct path is perceived usefulness to behavioral intention. So here we can say this is a mediating variable between the actual systems. Fine. So I was explaining this. Now finally coming down to the R model which we developed from this. So I hope this is how PAM was developed. Till this, Dr. Shweta, the things are clear to everyone?
Sir, there is a query in the chat box. If you permit me, then I'll ask.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, sir. A participant is asking about explain TPB with the help of an example.
Okay. So let me come to the theory of planned behavior. So let us say we take into account a liking of a particular, let's say again I come back to coffee, fine. Okay. So my attitude towards coffee is going to produce my intention and behavior. This is a very simple part. Now the question is, I like tea also. I like tea also. See, and coffee and tea, they are substitutes or not. That depends, because some people they will only take coffee, and some people will take both, and some people will take tea only. Fine. Now I know I am on a business meet, and people take. Let's suppose people take. Please admit them or just describe them because they are disturbing the screen time and again. Yeah.
Okay, fine, sir.
Let's say I have to prefer coffee over tea. Now, as a person, you give me anything, it's fine. But since it's a business meeting which has been planned by me, so I feel that attitude for me is same, you can say, for both the things. I like both of them. Clear? Now, subjective norm says that coffee is going to add more status value. I'm not saying it's true, it's assumption that coffee is going to add more status values or more, you can say, hypothetically assumed value that people will take it as a formal meeting if coffee is served. So that is a subjective norm. That is where the word subjective is here. Fine. So now there is an interaction between attitude and subjective. See, this is they are interacting themselves. So it has changed my attitude also, and my attitude is dependent upon this. Now what is going to happen? There is something which is perceived behavioral control. Now my behavior has been controlled by the interaction of these two. I would have gone for some other beverage, but now I'm going to have, you can say, coffee for that matter. Because of subjective norm acting into it, my behavioral control has changed, and now my intentions are better towards usage of coffee. And finally, the behavior is a result. Had these two elements not been there, now let's say I am at my house and there is no question, I am at ease, and I ask my wife that whether she is going to provide me coffee or tea because I like it. So for her, making of tea is simpler than making the coffee. So that means she is going to tell me that coffee making is going to take much time. So again, a subjective norm. And if you want it quickly, I will provide you tea. So again, subjective norm is changing here. Behavioral control is changing, and so are the intentions toward tea are coming positive. So that is how this theory of planned behavior. Why we say the word planned behavior? That means behavior. So you don't have to plan your behavior, but actually here the behavior is passing through the series of dimensions. See, I must tell you, for this, you must have to understand the consumer research first. When I say the attitude is predisposition. When I say predisposition, that means it is based upon my previous experiences and learning. And so that I have to see the structure of the brain. And the structure of the brain here is what we perceive in, social sciences, that the structure of brain is input. What inputs we are giving? This input we are giving to our brain in the form of our key learnings, perceptions, experiences. Fine. And then from that input, the things are passing to my short-term memory. Now everything, whatever we see is recorded in our short-term memory. But does it go to long-term memory or not? That is our, you can say, the seer. Let us say I'm going on the road, I am seeing so many billboards, signboards, but I remember McDonald's. Why? That shows my interest towards the brand. If somebody asks me that you went from Amritsar to Chandigarh, how many signboards you see? Can I name all of them? No, definitely. But I will name few of them. So that means depending upon my preference. Another person will name some other. So that means this planned word is coming here. That means I am going to, first thing is sensation. I sensed that particular signboard. I have sensed all the signboard, but I paid my attention to one of the particular signboard. Then after that, I will organize that stimulus. And once that stimulus is organized, I will respond to that stimulus. That response is interpretation of that stimulus. So for this, brain takes the thing from short-term to long-term. Even if a thing is taken to long-term memory, it will become a part of your behavior if you are going to repeat it time and again. So generally we say that things have to be repeated after few, you can say days or something like that, if you want to make them a part of your permanent memory. That is why we remember the things which we have studied in our primary classes till this age, and we don't remember the things which we did in our secondary or the graduation classes, because repetition of the primary level things are made time and again. So they become a part of normal life. Clear? So this is where the planned behavior part I must try to explain why the behavior we say is planned. Otherwise, behavior is instantaneous thing, but it is based upon series of aspects, and these series of aspects start from perception, learning, attitude, and transmigration of attitude from positive to negative or negative to positive. That is why it's a planned behavior. I hope the query is clear.
Yes, sir. Very well defined, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one request. Is there any kind of rectangular box on your screen? Actually, I'm getting message from so many participants that it is distracting, very distracting.
No, it's not. I'm not seeing any box over there.
Oh, okay, fine, sir. Thank you very much. Then it must be from some side else. Okay, fine. Thank you. You can
There was
continue, please.
actually, yeah, because sometimes, somebody is requesting to jump into this meeting. So that is why a box is appearing. So please see to that.
Sir, actually in the box it is written, please move this. Now it is hidden actually. Please move this window away from the shared application. It is appearing on the screen.
Yeah, there is one box here. But I don't know why it's not being removed.
Okay, fine, fine, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we just come to the part of the theoretical framework and hypothesis. So what we did, I'll explain that how we can extend. Now I have explained that how TAM was well. Now this is a very, very important part, which the participants, they must, which the participants, they will see that how we develop our own theory and we can work with that. This is again one of the paper which has gone to the A category journal, and here we have used Twitter platform. Now, please, very importantly, that how we can see. First of all, let me try to tell you that how we derive a scope for this research. So if we see, this is a gap because he is not explaining here the variables. So TAM, why it is a useful model? Because TAM is leaving scope for the future researchers to define these variables in their own ways. So this is a beauty of the TAM. That is why it is most widely used now. He has left the scope. Fine. Now we use this TAM and we extended this to develop this model. What we did here, so this is TAM, perceived usefulness, ease of use, attitude towards behavioral intention, actual use. So till this is TAM, I will tell you how we can develop the theory. Fine, this is TAM, we agree. Now we added two, because our study is based upon Twitter platforms. So we added two attributes of social networking sites. One was perceived attractiveness, because a networking site has to be attractive. Second was perceived enjoyment. So this is in the place of external variables. Remember? Fine. This all is TAM, and these are my addition to particular model. Now, just coming to see the relationships and how hypotheses they should be developed. Most of the people make wrong hypotheses. And please take a pause. I'll take a pause. So we can think how to number the hypothesis. It is not a random numbering process. I repeat again, it's not a random numbering process. If you number your hypothesis randomly, your paper in the good journal is definitely going to get rejected. Definitely. The first hypothesis is always the cause you want to see, the effect and the cause, the actual. So finally, what is our main, independent variable, main dependent variable we want to see? This is our main endogenous variable, which is going to be predicted. This is what we want to predict, that what is the actual use. So my first hypothesis, H1, is behavioral intention to use are going to define by actual use. Clear? Now this is preceded by attitude towards use is going to form behavioral intentions. So that is H2. Fine. Now coming up to the next part, let's say H3A. So what is going to affect behavioral intention to use other than attitude towards use? That is usefulness. So H3A, one direct relation. H3B, indirect relation. Similarly, now we come I'll try to hide it once again. I'll just take some time to hide it if it can, this box, because this model is one color dull kar do. Now the things are fine?
Yes, sir. Now it's fine. Perfectly fine.
So, yeah. So what is happening here is, like we had H3, HP, I defined. Now coming to this part, this, see, I am taking every hypothesis now, each relation from here. That is why the number is changing. So this is affected by, so we have to explain the hypothesis in a backward manner. So now attitude towards use is also affected by perceived enjoyment, and perceived enjoyment is also affecting the behavioral. So H4A here is from behavioral intention enjoyment, H4A. H4B is perceived enjoyment to attitude. Fine. So again, a relationship has been explained. Now coming back, we can see that there is no more relationship of behavioral intentions with anything else. So fine. Now we come to this part. Attitude towards use is having this relation is explained, this relation is explained. So that means a new item has to come, perceived ease of use, 5A. Now we see that anything else? No. But one relationship is here, which is again affecting it. And one relationship is here. So that I call H5B, H5C. It can be H5C here or B here. But why I'm trying to explain this? Because this is going to give a structure to your model, a systematic approach to your model. Otherwise, you can name them 1, 2, 3 here, 4, 5. But then you will be jumbled up when you will be explaining the things. Because see, for every hypothesis, I'm again coming to, for every hypothesis, you have to write the theory behind it before making this model. I will explain in the next part that how we have made this model. Now coming perceived ease of use. So see, it is again affected by 3 things. So H6, this one, H6, this one, H6, this one. So ABC has been made. So now this is in totality the model. I feel the naming of the hypothesis and numbering is clear to everyone. Fine? Dr. Shweta is fine?
Yes, yes, sir. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Please give me feedback. As a teacher, it's always a habit.
Sir, actually, I have, when you will speak, then I will mute my mic so that the
you have to mute
disturbance
it.
will... Yes.
So yeah, that's good. But वो आदत पड़ गई ना भी क्लास में कि ठीक है भी ठीक है वो इस तरह से चलता रहता है.
हाँ जी सर बिल्कुल ठीक है.
है ना? तो चलिए. Now the question here is what we have taken as a problem is a Twitter platform is considered to be enjoyable, hence results into performances, consequences into framing positive or negative attitudes and behavioral intention to use. It is having visual attractiveness also. So this all synthesis has been taken from the previous literature upon Twitter. What I am using these terms: enjoyable, visual attractiveness, social interactions, perceived ease of use, perceived uses, enjoyment. So this is from the previous literature. Fine. So now we can extend this. So we have taken two new constructs. We can take many of them, but that is going to make a model very complex. So we have taken two new constructs in place of external variables, where he mentioned these are the like external variables. This one. So here we are going to put two new constructs. So these two new constructs are perceived attractiveness and perceived enjoyment. Fine. And we are going that how they can be added to the original TAM for the present study. So model I have already shown to you. So here is attractiveness, enjoyment. So how they can add to actual use. So my question here is whether addition of this is going to increase the actual usage of Twitter or any other networking site, if I want to cover that, whether these are the reliable constructs or not, whether these are valid constructs or not, whether these are affecting it in an increased manner or not in an increased. Okay. Now the major dependent variable in TAM is the actual usage. The presumption of the causal relationship of his Twitter, the study posits two hypotheses. First, H1, intention to use social media positively. See, in this model building, I must tell you, we never use alternative hypothesis because we have already established a relationship. Some people may ask why we don't use H0. H0